Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk to you today about an incident that happened at the Flint Bishop International Airport yesterday, and a lieutenant with the Flint Bishop International Airport Police Authority by the name of Jeffrey Neville was stabbed in the neck by a man by the name of Amor Fatoui. Mr. Fatoui is a 47-year-old citizen of Canada who is originally from Tunisia. After the stabbing, which happened early yesterday morning, Lieutenant Neville was assisted by several citizens, by other police officers, by workers in the airport that came to his aid, and Lieutenant Neville himself fought back against his attacker. We are told that Lieutenant Neville is in stable condition and he is improving, and our thoughts are with him and his family. Yesterday at approximately 5 p.m., this office charged Mr. Fatoui with violating 18 United States Code Section 37A1, which is called committing violence at an international airport. That crime makes it illegal for any person to unlawfully and intentionally use a weapon to perform acts of violence against a person at an airport serving international civil aviation. The acts of violence must cause or be likely to cause serious bodily injury or death. This crime is punishable by up to 20 years in prison. However, if death results, the offense is punishable by up to life in prison or potentially the death penalty. On June 21st, yesterday evening, the defendant made his initial appearance before Magistrate Judge Stephanie Davis at the United States District Courthouse in Flint. The defendant was ordered temporarily detained without bond, and his next hearing will be on June 28, 2017 at 2:30 in the afternoon, at which time the court will decide whether to give him bond or not. The Federal Defender's Office is currently representing Mr. Fatoui. The investigation continues to determine the full extent of his planning and his actions and whether he committed other crimes, including a federal terrorism offense. The Canadian authorities have been assisting the United States in this investigation, and we want to extend our thanks to them for all of their cooperation. Yesterday, our Attorney General, Jeffrey Sessions, issued a statement about this case and about the priority that his administration and the President have for any crimes committed against a uniformed officer or any federal agent in this country. And I'd like to read that to you, if I may. I've just spoken with officials at the FBI about the attack on a police officer in Flint, Michigan, that is being investigated as an act of terrorism. President Trump has prioritized the safety of all law enforcement officers, and this Department of Justice is committed to that goal. I want to assure all our law enforcement across the nation, any attack on someone who serves and protects our citizens will be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I am proud of the swift response from the FBI and our federal prosecutors and their partnership with local police and the Canadian authorities. Our prayers are with the officer and his family for a full recovery. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Gillias, the Special Agent in charge of the FBI in the state of Michigan. I appreciate you being out here again today. I just would qualify my brief update here today with the fact that this is still a pending investigation, so I'm not going to be able to get into a great deal of detail with respect to the investigation since the attack yesterday morning at about 9:45 a.m. at the Bishop International Airport in Flint. As you all know, I won't recount exactly, but as you all know, we know that subject Fatoui traveled into the United States legally at Lake Champlain, New York on June 16th. Preliminarily, based on the information we have thus far, we show him in Michigan as early as June 18th. I can't say definitely he wasn't here sooner, but we show activity in Michigan on June 18th. As a result of the attack yesterday, we've now conducted over 20 interviews of witnesses, and we expect to do additional interviews as we continue to go through the information that we have obtained through a variety of investigative means. We've also executed several search warrants and those search warrants could lead to other search warrants. And I won't get into the details. I'll get into one specific search we conducted was with respect to the subject's vehicle, which had been driven here from Canada, which we located in the parking lot at the airport, and we conducted a search of that vehicle. And I won't go into specifics of what we found in that vehicle, but certainly that helped us with some of the indications of how long he had been in Michigan or when he may have first entered into Michigan, and other information which we hope to further exploit. You may have heard that, and we certainly are working with our Canadian partners, and investigative efforts are going on in Canada, where he was a resident of the nation of Canada, and we are waiting for those investigative results from our Canadian partners. So we don't have much in the way of results from the Canadians yet. Following our investigative efforts through today, I'll repeat what I said yesterday, that we continue to have no information to suggest Fatui's attack on Lieutenant Neville was part of a wider plot, nor do we have any indication that he was aided in this incident or had associates associated to this incident. So that remains, nothing has changed since yesterday. At the end of this press conference, we do want to provide a photo of Fatui. The reason being, if he had been here as early as the 18th, and we don't know where else he had been once he crossed over into the United States, but if there are any individuals who encountered Fatui while he was in Michigan or anywhere on his route from New York to the state of Michigan, we'd like to get that photo out there. We would ask that individuals who have information relevant to Mr. Fatui call our office at 313-965-2323, or put in a tip to our tip line, which is tips.fbi.gov. And with that, I think we will take a few questions.
A question for you. Were there reports that he may have purchased a gun or tried to purchase a gun or some type of weapon aside from the knife?
I will simply say that we have information that Fatui attempted to buy a gun and was unsuccessful in that attempt in the United States.
Was it in Macomb County?
I won't speak to where he tried to buy a gun.
Why Flint? Why didn't he pick a bigger airport?
That's part of an ongoing investigation, and that's all I'll say at this point on that.
Can you answer anything with respect to the knife, and was it purchased in Flint?
I can say that the knife was purchased in the United States, somewhere along his trip from New York. And the reason I give that information, I think it's a good news story that we have an individual who attempted to buy a gun in the United States and was unsuccessful, and then similarly, he was unable to cross into the United States with that knife.
The Trade Center where he was denied access to the gun, is that the same location where he was sold the knife?
I'm not commenting on where he attempted to buy a gun.
A question over
Was
here.
he on the radar of U.S. or Canadian authorities at any point on any type of watch list? Would he be under surveillance, under investigation at any point?
My only caveat to the response is based on the information we've been able to identify thus far. He was neither on the radar of Canadian authorities or FBI or United States authorities.
Did he drive directly from?
Oh,
Yeah, question NBC 25 in Flint. A lot of people in our area, the public, wondering why Flint? And I know it's been asked before, and you may be wondering this and looking into it, but it's not really on the path of where he may have been going. Any idea, family, friends, any connections? Because there's a community that is still concerned up there.
yeah, as a matter of a pending investigative matter, I'm not going to get into why he chose Flint, other than he did want to identify an international airport, and Flint by name alone is known as an international
You
airport.
can't say, though, whether there is any relationship with individuals or family or friends.
We have absolutely no indication that he had any association with anyone in the Flint area or thus far Michigan.
Mr. Delios, can you release more information on what were the contents of those bags that he had?
I cannot. I'm sorry.
Say where he was living.
What might have motivated him?
Yeah, I have a question.
Did you see anything in his vehicle or anything that you've heard since?
we're going through the information that we collected from his vehicle and a variety of other places. There's it's widely known various things that can motivate an individual to extremism and radicalism. It can be simply a lot of consumption of extremist content on the internet and their own personal situation. So I'm not going to speculate as to his personal situation.
We will take, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take 2 more questions from the audience here, and then we'll move over to those folks who are on the line.
You mentioned no indication that he was aided by anyone in this attack. Do you have any indication that he had any kind of online contact or anything like that with known terrorist groups?
To simply reiterate what I said yesterday, we have no indication that anyone else knew thus far of his plan to conduct this attack in Flint, nor any assistance from anybody. Again, we're 1 day into an investigation. I have nothing to suggest that's going to change, but I'd be remiss if I suggested otherwise before we're done with our investigation.
About his personal life. Was he
So this will be our last question right here.
Did he lose a job? Was he stressed out?
I'm not going to comment on his personal situation. I'm sorry.
Okay, now we're going to go over to the phone line for questions.
Can we come to the phone line? Yeah, hi, this is Steve Rukavina from CBC in Montreal. I wonder if you could talk about at all what police in Montreal are looking for, what they might have seized, and what you're hoping to get from them.
I can simply say that the police in Montreal and Canada in general have been remarkably cooperative, helpful, and we are most grateful for their assistance. The actual investigative steps that they are taking at the moment, I would prefer not to specify or discuss because it is very much an ongoing live investigation.
Just real quickly in follow-up to that question,
Did the suspect enter the United States using the Trusted Traveler program?
all I'm able to say is that he entered the United States legally.
Also, do you want to add to that?
Our information is that Homeland.
I'm sorry, that first telephonic,
Exploring whether he used the Trusted Traveler program, because that would be a pre-screening mechanism and would have failed in this case.
we are looking and coordinating to determine every means that he used to come into Canada. And we're aware of how, we're aware of how he came into the United States. I'm just, as a pending investigative matter, I'm not going to speak to that this afternoon.
Hold that next question, and then did you want to add on to the first one?
Yeah, with respect to the investigation going on in Canada, I would echo what U.S. Attorney Lemish said, but if this attack had been conducted by a United States resident, we would certainly want to find out where he resided, interview people he was associated with, family members, those sorts of things. So it's reasonable to assume those are the sorts of things we would want to do in Canada.
Do we have any other questions telephonically?
Steve Rukavina again at CBC. I wonder if you can confirm if investigators have talked to the suspect's family at all, and if any FBI personnel are currently in Montreal assisting the RCMP.
We have a legal attaché office in Canada, and any investigative actions taken in Canada would be coordinated through Canadian authorities. So FBI personnel aren't involved in those investigative steps.
And the suspect's family?
As I said a few moments ago, we are waiting on the results of investigation in Canada, but just to draw the analogy, if it was an individual who resided in the United States, we would certainly attempt to interview family members.
Okay, do any more from the phone line? We'll take one more from the phone line, and because we have extra time, I will take an additional 2 from our audience. None from the phone line? Okay.
Hey, Agent Jonas, did he have any travel plans? Did he book any flights at Bishop Airport, or had he had any recent travel or any future travel?
We found, I won't speak to past travel. That is something certainly we're looking at, but I can reiterate what I said yesterday, that this individual had no travel documents to suggest he was planning travel to or from Flint or anywhere else while he was in the United States.
And is it believed to be?
Just one moment.
Might there be other charges to come forward in this case?
Yes, as Special Agent Gelios said, Special Agent in Charge Gelios said, this investigation is very much ongoing. There is a great deal of evidence to be digested and looked at both by the agents and by the prosecutors. I think it is safe to say that there will be additional charges forthcoming against Mr. Fatuhi in the future.
Is it believed that he drove directly from New York to Flint without stopping, or did he stop along the way?
We don't know that. We know at this point the earliest date we can place him in Michigan is the 18th.
Is there any indication he may have been in Michigan in the past at any point?
There is no indication.
ML, we're going to wrap up with you.
I'm just going to say for the U.S. Attorney, you said there may be additional charges. Are we looking at assault charges? What kind of charges might there be?
I mean, I don't want to predict what the evidence is going to show. We have to really make charging decisions based on the evidence, but if there is evidence that this was an act of terrorism, there may be terrorism-related charges forthcoming.
Can you tell us where he's being held?
Okay, folks, that's going to, did you want to mention where it's being held? Okay. Folks, that'll be it for now. We'll go ahead with closing remarks from both gentlemen.
Just real quick, I wanted to add to U.S. Attorney Lemish's comments about the Attorney General's statement. If you're from this area, you know we've had a great deal of a number of officers shot, killed in the Detroit area, the state of Michigan. I've been here 2 years. We had 2 officers shot, and court security officers shot and killed in Berrien County. We've had 8 officers, I believe, shot. Several killed in the Detroit Police Department since September of last year. Colin Rose from the Wayne County, the Wayne State University Police Department. So we, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office, are very, very committed trying to do everything we can to anyone who would assault a public safety officer or kill a public safety officer, and the whole law enforcement community is united in that effort. So thank you.
I just want to echo what Special Agent in Charge Gelios said. We take any attack on law enforcement as an attack on all law enforcement. These men and women in uniform are putting their lives on the line every day for the benefit of each one of us. And whatever we can do, not only to prosecute individuals who commit such crimes, but to prevent such conduct in the future, is a high priority for this office and for the FBI and for all law enforcement as well. So we thank you.
The age is 47.
Can we?
Yep.
I'll correct that. He is approximately 50 years old, will be 50 very, very soon. So the age, just one correction on that, he is approximately 50 years old.
But he's 49 right now.
49 right now.
49. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We certainly appreciate it. I have all of your email addresses. I'll make sure that you get a digital photo, and that way you can put that out there. Again, we're trying to acquire any tips that might be out there helping us to track the whereabouts once they had entered into the country and to the point we're in Michigan. So, again, 313-965-2323, tips.fbi.gov. Thank you. I do, actually.
No, I don't.
Yes, I do.